Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name's Brian if you happen to be new around here, but if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back and thank you so much for checking out today's guide. Now, I got a great question and that's the inspiration for today's video. It's from Bill and he says, I just started playing last weekend for the first time. My character is around level 23 and I think I messed up bouncing around on what weapons I want to use. Would you recommend that I restart and focus in on just 2 weapons as I level to max those weapons out? Or would I be okay with continuing on this character? I'm currently focusing in on the hatchet and bow for the leveling process, but I doubt those are going to be the weapons that I use at max level. And thank you, Bill, for that amazing comment. Let's go ahead and actually explore the answers now in game. So first and foremost, you can always fix any quote-unquote mistake that you make. These are going to be this video overall is going to focus on common mistakes that new players make. And let's go ahead and start actually with the main inspiration. Let's go and focus in on our character here. First and foremost, when it comes especially to weapon mastery, picking up a weapon, changing your ideal weapon as you progress through the game, even when you hit level 60, that is a perfect time to go ahead and also pick up another weapon. You don't have to worry about being efficient. In fact, this is something I kind of rail against in terms of it. I think it's important to understand meta. I think it's important to understand what the community is generally kind of leaning towards in terms of that value. But your fun should be the most important thing that you take into it. As you step into the hardest content, yes, that becomes a different kind of conversation. But I want to talk to the 99% of the players, especially for the leveling process and more. I love that you're rocking the hatchet and the bow. In fact, that's usually my main recommendation. When it comes to leveling in this game, focus in on survivability. I usually recommend sword and shield and also a ranged weapon, so to speak. Personally, I love sword and shield and blunderbuss as a combo. And the same thing goes, like if you want to level bow and musket, these are 2 excellent ideas. These are great for pulling. These are great for putting out damage at range. And as enemies draw in close, you can swap to something like the hatchet or some other weapon that you end up preferring. So here's the beautiful thing about it. When it comes down to respecking, you get to respec your skills and your builds for free. Up to a point, and then eventually it's going to cost a little bit. So if I want to go and respec my bow here, I can do that very thing right now. What I recommend here in this case would be to focus in on skills first, just so you have access to those before you start worrying about various different perks that you want to focus in on. When it comes down to playing the game, it's going to be a lot of fun, especially if you have these abilities, that you have the ability to put out damage. You might lose some efficiency. You might lose a little bit of that. But I think essentially when it comes down to it, if you're worrying about min-maxing as you're leveling throughout the game, I think you're spending a little bit too much time when it's not as important as people maybe make it out to be, or maybe you yourself are making it out to be. So I'm not trying to judge you, say you're doing it wrong. As long as you're having fun. If you like min-maxing all the way through every level of it, go for it. But here's the other thing. Let's say you get to level 60. Let's say you get that capped out weapon. It's easier to actually cap out weapons at level 60 because you have the other aspect of it. You have gear that you can use to help attribute that extra survivability and extra strength. So you can start playing around with new weapons at level 60. Here's what I recommend when that happens though. When you're out and about, when you're adventuring, whatever you're doing, I recommend keeping something on hand that you have a lot of power with, a lot of skill with. And then in your secondary slot, take the weapon that you're leveling up. So one weapon ends up being your oh no moment, your I've got skill with this, not just in terms of leveling, but your own personal experience. And then the weapon that you're actually leveling up, something that you're learning along the way, but you always have that ability to back yourself up. Now, my build here, I don't know if I would recommend it, but I'm having a lot of fun with it, constantly playing around with as I get new pieces of gear, stats, and more. So note that I'm having a lot of fun. So somebody might be like, great sword and life staff. Who is this guy? Who is this legend among men? Well, my name is Bryn in game. You can come hang out and play with us on Orofina. You can also join in the Discord and be a part of the community. All the links in the description. And we play together Friday nights where we stream. The stream is usually just a point of reference to let people know, come hang out. Let's play some New World together and have a really good time. Now, another mistake I see people make is that they forget that the end game begins at level 1. When you come from another MMO, I guess the most popular one in the room would be World of Warcraft with its skill and its size. You can kind of get the idea that the end game actually begins at level 60 or level cap. In New World, it begins at level 1. The reason why it does is because everything you do is gaining you experience. Everything you do is progressing you towards these goals, and everything you do ends up benefiting you later in the game. Once you finally hit that level 60, there are and specific contents that you can do at level 60. But once you hit that main level, you end up having a lot of different abilities that you want to have leveled. This comes in the form of crafting and gathering and refining. Now, personally speaking, I don't spend a lot of time in the crafting setup, but we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second. I do really enjoy the gathering and refining, and I continue to push these forward as I want. And so you can see here, I'm just kind of doing a few things, and out and about you find all kinds of reasons to gather materials, and these materials drive the market, and the market can equal power, meaning that gold in this game can be used to buy really great pieces of gear from other crafters. You end up having a lot of options. That's why I say the end game begins at level 1. So if you are end game minded stepping into this game, congratulations, you're already there. But then the question does come into, like, at level 60, you got lots of different content to do. And if we need a level 60 content guide, I'll be sure to do that here in the next couple of months, because we're getting some bigger updates being added to the game. Been having a lot of fun with all the different expeditions and all the different mutations. So hopefully you guys stick around to the channel. If this video is the video that actually gets you to subscribe, by the way, let me know in the comments below. And thank you guys so much for doing so. You'll get your free compliments and greetings at the start of the videos going forward. So be sure to check out the other content here on this channel. Now, another mistake I see new players make is they don't unlock their fast travel shrines and teleports. Now, on a map, you can see all the different shrines that are available, and the ones that are unlocked that you have not currently activated will be grayed out. So this will give you an idea of where things are. But if you're also looking out in the world, they'll also appear as these big blue bold light beams in the sky. So you'll be able to find them. I would recommend anytime that you get close to one, or anytime you're near, just be sure to unlock that, because this gives you a lot of ability to get around the zone and travel to the different points. Now, this also ties in great with the next item, housing. When should you buy a house? You can see here, I actually currently in this game own 3 houses, one in Everfall, one here in Cutlass Keys, and one in Morningdale. And the reason I did so is I feel like it gives me a lot of different options to return to. That's the beautiful thing. You get the ability to return to your house. You can say recall to house. If you've already recalled to house, you can actually reset your recall, but because it's set off of a timer, using a Zoth. So if you got plenty of Zoth saved up, you get instant returns. You can just kind of reset it, and then you can easily say, go ahead and recall to your home to be able to get around. But homes offer a lot of value, a lot more options than just fast travel. That's in the form of storage. That's also in the form of free teleports. As you can see here, is you can go to any of your town homes as long as they're off a cooldown and be able to get there for free without using a Zoth. So if you find yourself running short, which the game has changed, a Zoth in and of itself is super cheap and free to teleport to any of the zones that your faction controls. Like, it is like 12, and if you control a specific fort, you actually get free teleports. In this case, you can see that right now. Fast travel is going to cost me 0 out of my 335 currently as Zoth. I've been doing a lot of traveling for this wonderful little winter event that's been going on at the time of this recording, so it's clear that I'll go farm up some more Zoth here shortly. But housing offers that ability to have storage. The question ends up coming as to when should you buy a house? And this is hotly contested, debated among the community. My general advice is because you get a discount on your first house. If you're running around, honestly, I would recommend taking the cheap house, getting the discount on the lower level house, because it will give you that initial storage. It will give you that teleport. But if you're hardcore grinding, if you've fallen in love with the zone, like I have, like here in Everfall, you can go and sit here and say, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get the big house. And you'll obviously get the big house at a discount, but don't let that come at the sacrifice of burnout. If you're finding yourself getting fatigued and you're like, oh, I'm traveling all the time, like this isn't necessarily having that much fun, I think it's worth it to get the cheap house, or the cheapest house that you can afford for the rank that you are in. You do have to level up territory standing. So there is a requirement to be able to get the largest house to get to 30, but I think that can be kind of a grind. Sure, you'll save a little bit of money, but I think you'll end up making more money in terms of being able to jump around real quick, return whenever you want, and more. You also still have your free end teleport that you can always recall to your end. You can't reset that. That does have to cool down at 30 minutes, but along with the end room and along with your house, it makes it easy to get around this game. Now, another thing I commonly see from new players or returning players is talking about vendoring. How do you get your items gone? They're just piling up in your house or in your inventory. And that's where this game's player-driven economy is going to be a key indicator. Now, when it comes down to it, like if you don't know necessarily what to sell, what is making the most value and bang for the buck, look to see if anybody's got various different buy orders. The buy order gives you the option to go ahead and make money instantly, but you got to be careful because people can list things very cheaply and sell them at a profit. Now you can see here, people are willing to pay 31 coins, or 31 cents, and sell them for a little bit double that. So this ends up being a great way to also make money as soon as you hit a certain standard, right? So as soon as you hit a certain point in your grinding, you can actually have people farm for you. So Obsidian Sandpaper willing to pay 8 cents. That's the top price for 5,000 of those. If you want to go and sell those, you can see here they are selling for 12. So the prices will fluctuate and have different values all driven with them. So let's go with like soul modes, for example. These generally have a lot of value, and people are willing to pay a lot for them. 2.75 coins just to buy them. And if you want to go to sell them, it looks like they're actually in a interesting, this is interesting just at the time of the video. They're willing to sell them. People are willing to sell them for and pay more for them. So if you end up finding kind of sometimes you can get these flips where people are selling them and the buy orders are still listed, you could use those to make a little extra money. I wouldn't do that in that specific case because I'm sure the taxes would end up getting a hold of you. But note that there's a lot of different opportunities to make money and to sell. And so here's a really good option of which that you can actually make more money by just listing it. And the demand on these things usually is quite large. And so you can end up seeing how people can actually use you to farm and then just kind of list it and take the profit in the difference. But then the other side of the coin here is when it comes down to your gear. You could spend probably a lot of time trying to figure out like if this is a valuable weapon on the market. And at the end of the day, I honestly just kind of have my own rules about it. First and foremost, I'm going to go ahead and just break it down. I'm not going to use that anyway. So at its core, I can go and break it down, get repair parts. I can get gold immediately. Occasionally you get the ability to have them break down into even cooler items. And so my kind of rule of thumb ends up being kind of like when it comes down to it, greens and blues outside of like my fishing gear, I'm going to just auto break down. As you're leveling and as you're playing through, that rarity will constantly increase because at some point you're going to be getting purples and you're going to be getting the legendaries. So you're not necessarily going to be too concerned with the lower rarities. And so I kind of just decide I'm going to go ahead and demolish them. Even if maybe the stat perk might be a little bit better. Usually the perks and things like that usually kind of outweigh themselves. So that also feeds me these repair parts. And this is really where it comes down to a great way of leveling and more. And this comes down to kind of your engineering. One of the things that I would kind of encourage you guys to take a look at and especially continue to level, if I go ahead and say I can and I craft with my skills and have the materials, you can see here you can also use your repair parts that you're farming from the items that you're breaking down to be able to start crafting and even leveling up your engineering skills as well. So at the moment, I am currently able to make the advanced repair kit. There's higher repair kits, and these are great ways of also helping to auto repair. And when you do that, as opposed to like using just kind of your repair parts, you actually save money because you're not going to have to spend coin to do your repairs, because if you're using repair parts and net kits, it does have a coin fee that is associated with it in terms of your repair. So note that that's a couple of things that you have available to you when it comes down to it. So don't worry about it. Like if you're ending up leveling and you're like, oh, you know, sitting on items, it'd be encouraging probably for you to go ahead and hit that lock button on them. So that way, like, yeah, you get this named item, you want to hold the L key, you can actually put that lock, which will prevent you from salvaging it here in the future. So it gives you a lot of, you know, a lot of choices, a lot of things that you can kind of play around with and go from there. So with that out of the way, with all those hopefully questions answered, if you guys have any additional questions, sound off in the comments below. Hit us up on Discord. That way I can hopefully help you get into the game, get back into the game, and we'll keep you guys up to date on all things about New World here on the channel itself. Guys, I would also encourage you, as a thing, be social. You don't have to worry about like making friends in game if you're more just kind of wanting the casual side of things. Like, we have a really cool group. We play Fridays, like I said. Links are all in the description. Get involved, come have fun. You can always dip in, dip out. It's a no pressure situation. We're just here to play games and have a good time. And with that, I'm gonna wish you guys all the best. Thank you so much for your time. If you feel like this video earns it, hit that like button. And if you do hit that like button, here's a picture of a panda for doing so. So thanks so much for that support. Sound off in the comments is also a great way of helping out these videos. Share them with friends if you find this video got you something valuable for your time. I appreciate you guys so much, and I will hopefully see you in my next video. But until then, take care.